So collaborative community safety strategies, these are the key to reducing crime across cities or across provinces. And basically what they involve is a plan to reduce crime and victimization. And they engage the public, and they engage different agencies like schools and social services. And they involve a diagnosis, so why do we have so much crime in this area, or why do we have so much crime across the city? They involve coming up with logical solutions or evidence-based solutions to that diagnosis. And they involve targeted actions, so actions that you can see how they are actually addressing the problem in that area. And these require some sort of office for crime prevention or crime prevention board with an executive director to happen. And this little diagram explains very quickly what it's about. So you have a planning office that brings these various groups together, does a diagnosis, it comes up with a plan, and it looks for funding with the plan, and then it implements the plan, and that has to be done with performance measures so that you see what's going on, and then you evaluate outcomes. And it goes on, and you learn from that. And a successful comprehensive community safety strategy really involves, there are 5 things that I have learned from working in a number of different countries are absolutely essential. And if you don't do all 5 of these, you will not succeed. So one of these is bringing different sectors together for that diagnosis. A second one is logical solutions. Logical solutions. They can be inspired by evidence. A third is you have to invest. We talk about a 10% investment equivalent to what is currently being spent. But you need a significant investment if you're going to get significant results. You need to monitor implementation, and you particularly need to measure outcomes. And those monitoring and evaluation can be very reassuring to politicians who are deciding to invest those funds. Now, these things work. We don't have thousands of examples of these, but some of them are impressive. We use a lot the example of Winnipeg, a US one, there are lots of failures in the US because they don't do all of those 5 steps, and Glasgow. So let me just very briefly tell you about Winnipeg. Winnipeg, it set up a group to diagnose the problem, decided the solutions had to do with a combination of police focusing on certain offenders and some social service action with people, young Indigenous people likely to become offenders. There were other elements, but very important was that they were measuring whether the action was implemented, and they were measuring results. And they put in 40 million. And that 40 million saved 20 million a year in costs to the provincial insurance agency. These are impressive numbers, and these basically show that if you put real money in following those 5 actions, and you have to pay something to get those 5 actions done well, you will save money. Now, internationally, Glasgow is a wonderful example. They reduced crime by 50% within a 3-year period. There were a couple of years before that involved the diagnosis. So from beginning to the end of success, it's about 5 years. And this was a combination, a partnership between social development, youth outreach like YIPS, programs in hospital emergency rooms, with focused deterrence, calling in young men involved in gangs and saying they were going to be watched, doing stuff about their weapons, which in Glasgow were knives. And you saw a 50% reduction in violence. And if Glasgow can do this, it's my strong belief that many Canadian cities can have the same success. These strategies are not just the theory. As I've told you with Winnipeg and with Glasgow, these show real examples. But they're also endorsed by the major intergovernmental agencies. They're the UN Office on Drugs and Crime, well known for its work to deal with drug issues across the world. Habitat, the UN agency that deals with cities, and also the World Health Organization, that is a household name for most of us. Now, these strategies are best implemented by municipalities at the local level, because they're the ones who can actually initiate and establish that collaboration. They're also the ones who really know how their city is organized. And they can bring data together that has to do with the census, that has to do with planning. It can be police data and others to do this. They are also the key to having a municipal office. It can be a crime prevention board, or it can be an office of one person with an advisory group in a smaller community, or in a bigger city, several people who are working on this. I think it's important to go back to the first principles on collaborative community safety strategies. In 1989 in Montreal, 91 in Paris, mayors from across the world got together to look at this new way of doing business in relation to crime. And there are two very simple quotes that come from that time. One is that crime prevention strategies and programs must be tailored to local needs, but not limited to local resources. So cities need technical and financial help to develop those plans, but they are the ones that should be in charge. And local efforts, and once you have a plan, the local effort must be investments in youth, investments in schools, and so on. It needs national policies which provide stable, direct, and timely funding. Now, what is important about those quotes is that we have not moved to get that action, and that is what is needed today. And governments have a key role to support that. Canada must find more cost-effective ways to deal with crime, ways that are evidence-based, that are compassionate to victims and protect the public. The Canadian Municipal Network on Crime Prevention has proposed 3 key actions. One is to establish offices for crime prevention in all orders of government. The second is to organize an annual conference so that people and agencies engaged in prevention can share the successes and can develop new solutions. The third is a partnership between federal, provincial, territorial governments and municipalities to ensure a serious investment in prevention. If these 3 actions occurred, costing the equivalent of 10% of what we currently are spending on reacting to crime, we could expect significant reductions in crime before 2030. 1 million fewer victims of assaults and violent crime, 2 million fewer victims of theft and property crime. This would save about 25 billion or more in harm to victims. The required investment is important, is 2 billion, but this would counterbalance the 6 billion that we have added in the last 15 years to the reaction budget. but would achieve potential savings and reaction costs of 4 billion or more annually.